So you all know that milk with less percentage of fat is better for us. So if I present to you two different milk cartons and say that one of them is 99% fat free and the other one has 1% fat, which one are you likely to say is better for us? Take a second to answer. Yes, there is a 70% chance that you say the first one is better for us. But the problem here is both of them are the same. The information is written differently in different cartons. And because the information is written differently in different cartons, we are going to perceive those informations differently in our brains, even though they are not very different. This video is about framing bias, or it is also called framing effect. Framing bias is about how a particular information is presented is more important than what that information is. Informations can be framed in both positive and negative light in order to nudge the decisions of the receivers of the information. I'm going to provide more examples so that you understand it better. But before that, the pioneers of this bias, these two gentlemen. Yes, the gentleman at the right is the writer of Thinking Fast and Slow. And the gentleman on the left is his partner in the study. They are Daniel Kahneman and Amos Tversky. I am not sure about the pronunciation of the name of Mr. Amos. But these two gentlemen actually did the research that provided the proof of framing bias or framing effect in our lives. The reason this picture seems so blurry is because it is a really old picture. And I am also not going to elaborate on the study that they have actually done because I am actually not that comfortable about elaborating the details of that study. You can Google it for yourself. So, I said that I'm going to talk about examples. Let's say that you have to agree before going in for an operation. Now, how the information is framed in front of you is likely to have a big effect on the decision that you make. If the doctors tell you that there is a 90% success rate in the operation, you are much more likely to sign. But if they tell it like there is a 10% failure rate, you are much less likely to agree to go for the operation, despite both of the information being the same. In the second part, failure is being framed more than success. That is why people are likely to disagree if you tell them the percentage of failure. But what would happen if the doctor tells you that there is a 25% success rate? Yes, that means 75% failure rate. It doesn't always work. So you have to understand that framing something positively does not always work if you have success rate that is 25% or less. Now let's talk about framing bias in finance. Let's say that the return on investment for a particular venture is 20%, but the return was expected to be 35%. You are not likely to be very happy with the ROI of 20%, despite that being a very good number. Now, in another investment, let's say the ROI turns out to be 15%. But you are told that the expected ROI was 5%. In that case, you are likely to be much more happier than the return on investment on 20%. But if you have two different investments and the ROI for one is 20% and the ROI for another is 15%, you are still likely to be more happier with the ROI of 20%. What would happen if the ROI of the second one is also 20%? In that case, you are much more likely to be happier with the second investment, despite both of the investment getting you the same exact ROI. So now you know you have to be careful when you start reading about how people are expecting the return on investment on any financial assets. Now the mandatory part of any cognitive bias video in my series is how to defeat this bias. I have said it before that most biases happen because of our limbic system takes over. So, just by activating the critical thinking portion of the brain, you can get rid of this bias. That way, whenever you are presented with informations like the ones I have mentioned in this video, try to rephrase the statements in your mind and see if it changes the situation or not. If you are reading any financial reports, try to avoid any comments made by the writers and just look at the numbers and analyze the information by yourself. And again, you have to understand that this bias actually exists. So that way you can take action against it. And that would be the end of the discussion for framing bias or framing effect. Thank you all for watching until now. You can like this video, share this with anyone that you might think find information in here. And also subscribe to this channel if you would like to get notifications whenever I upload in the future. But my regular viewers already know that this is definitely not the end of this video. That is because we still have bonus content left. And for bonus today, I would like to say that the Spanish word for head is cabeza. And the Spanish word for brain is cerebro. Yes, I did not know that the machine Professor X uses is literally called brain in Spanish. But now I know, and you also know that. And with that, I would like to end this video. And as always, I hope you learned something new today.